All right, joining us now with a reaction is White House Deputy Press Secretary Anna Kelly. Thank you for joining us tonight. Listen, I've got two eyes. I think that's something that Mayor Frey said in one of his attacks. If we have two eyes, we can see. It's obvious that everyone sees what they want to see or see something different, I guess. But for me, it's pretty clear when you see the video, there's nothing to cover up. It's just rather not, when you see it, you see self-defense or, I guess, preemptive strike.
Well, that's right. And I'll also add, let's be very clear about which party likes to jump the gun, because I think it's absolutely shameful when you had this officer-involved shooting and dating all the way back to this beginning of this administration, the fact that Democrats like this senator are always so quick to vilify law enforcement. That includes our brave men and women in ICE. And let's remember why ICE is there, because Democrat politicians like the senator, like Tim Walz, totally failed to hold our immigration laws, to hold these illegal alien criminals accountable, and they have sanctuary city policies in Minneapolis that basically handcuff local law enforcement and their ability to work with ICE and deport illegal alien criminals from our communities. And so it's absolutely shameful that you have this horrific rhetoric from this senator, which is, by the way, part of the reason why we have increased attacks on ICE and law enforcement. But rest assured, this president will always stand on the side of our law enforcement, of ICE officers who are simply trying to correct these failed policies of Democrat officials that are making citizens in Minnesota and all across the country less and less safe.
Yeah, Anna, speaking of rushing to conclusions, the media is doing a lot of the work alongside Democrats, saying that this was a murder, talking about Renee Good as simply a mother who was picking or dropping her child off and then driving home. That's what I've seen being covered by liberal media everywhere, from the usual suspects to even People magazine trying to portray it this way. What do you make of the way that the media has chosen to cover what happened in Minnesota last week?
Well, we've seen this show before, right? Remember when Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a illegal immigrant terrorist, a member of MS-13, was rightfully deported to CCOT in El Salvador, and you had Democrats like Chris Van Hollen rushing to El Salvador having margaritas, and their allies in the media supporting that, right? Calling this individual, again, MS-13 gang member, a human smuggler, Maryland Father of the Year. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so it's, again, part of a same destructive pattern that has led to increased attacks on ICE, increased attacks on law enforcement. And remember, all of these brave men and women in law enforcement are simply working to correct the failed Democrat policies that have made Americans less safe, brought in horrific criminals, those who killed Jocelyn Nungare, Rachel Morin. By the way, you don't hear Democrats saying those names. So the president, the entire administration are going to continue to enforce our immigration laws to make America safe again, which is exactly what this president was elected to do.
Anna, sticking in Minnesota, but a different subject, the Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, was in that state earlier in the week overseeing an investigation into that huge burgeoning fraud scandal that Tim Walz has overseen. Meanwhile, the vice president announced this new creation of a brand new assistant attorney general position tasked to root out fraud nationwide. Watch.
We are creating a new Assistant Attorney General position who will have nationwide jurisdiction over the issue of fraud. That person's efforts will start and focus primarily in Minnesota, but it is going to be a nationwide effort because, unfortunately, the American people have been defrauded in a very nationwide way.
So, Anna, you heard basically a summary there from the vice president. Can you tell us anything more about the remit of this new role, and then when might we see an appointment to fill it?
Sure. Well, I'll zoom out a bit because this is something that the entire administration has now been tackling for several weeks. You have the Department of Labor looking at unemployment insurance fraud. You have HUD looking at housing payments, SBA looking at SBA loans. So this is something that the administration has been looking into, thankfully, since independent journalist Nick Shirley really brought this issue to light. But now we're going to make sure that we are also holding these bad actors accountable. And so this DOJ task force this DOJ office that the vice president talked about will be purely dedicated to this effort, because we don't want to just look into this issue and identify criminals. We want to make sure that we are holding these bad actors accountable. And it's great that the Department of Justice has already brought charges against 98 individuals. Over 60 of them have been convicted. But now with this new office in the DOJ, we're going to continue to not just look into this issue, but make sure that these benefits intended to serve American citizens are going to the American citizens they were intended, and that bad actors are no longer able to get away with this massive scope of fraud we're seeing across our country.
Do you see any timeline on an appointment?
Well, look, of course, this is something that the administration wants to do very quickly. It was something that this president has talked about very openly. So I don't have an exact date for you, but I know that this is going to be in progress very soon.
Anna, it's Nicole Sapphire. I want to quickly turn to Venezuela. The State Department is warning Americans to leave the country over severe security risk, saying there are reports of armed militias setting up roadblocks and searching for U.S. citizens. This comes as President Trump warns Cuba that no oil will be coming to the country and that they need to make a deal. You know, this also is on the heels of rising tensions in Iran. This past week, we saw the Senate pass the War Powers Resolution Act with the forthcoming vote this week. What message does the president and the White House have for these senators, especially the Republican senators who are voting to restrict the president's power, and how this makes us look on the global scale?
Well, look, this president is willing to do whatever it takes to secure our homeland and protect it from massive scale of drugs and criminals coming into our country. And that's what you saw with the arrest of Nicolas Maduro, who, of course, is a narco-terrorist who is indicted in the Southern District of New York for these narco-terrorist charges and for criminal conspiracy. And so I think his message for bad actors around the world is that he means what he says. He proved that with the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. He proved that with Operation Midnight Hammer, that totally obliterated Iran's nuclear facilities. And so he's going to continue to do what is necessary as commander-in-chief and as our chief executive to protect our homeland, again, as he was elected to do. And he has been incredibly transparent with the Hill over the course of his actions in Venezuela and throughout that process, and he'll continue to be so.
And quickly, on that topic, you talk about the arrest of Nicolas Maduro. There's a legal kind of justification there that shows that to be not just a military action. When we look at somewhere like Iran and what's happening there, does the president feel like, even with threat from Congress using the War Powers Act, that he has all the lateral movement he needs to, I don't know, strike Iran's leader or do anything of that nature as chief executive?
Well, look, I'm not going to preview any potential options that the president might be exploring, but of course he has a number of options on the table as commander-in-chief of our United States military, and he is fully willing to use those options as necessary, as he's demonstrated in the past.
And lastly, the president's heading out to Motor City this week. He's going to speak to the Detroit Economic Club on Tuesday. Kind of exciting news. Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, the president will be returning to Michigan, of course, a state that he won big in 2024, touting all of his economic accomplishments for Americans across this country. Of course, this president has helped cool inflation. Remember, we had a 9% inflation rate under Joe Biden. That is now at a 2.5 annualized rate. He is leveraging fairer trade deals that is going to reshore manufacturing, especially in states like Michigan. And so I think this president is very excited to return to the state of Michigan to talk about this economic agenda and also talk about how these economic accomplishments are going to continue to pay dividends. Those tax cuts, when Americans file their taxes this year, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. Those are things that Americans are going to be feeling right in their pockets. Investments that this president has leveraged through his fantastic foreign policy relationships, going to reshore manufacturing in Michigan and across the country, create jobs here at home. And so the president is very much looking forward to this visit. And I think you all will enjoy hearing his economic message later this week.
I bought a lot of Ford trucks. I don't think I've ever bought one made in the United States. So that would be kind of exciting if you all could make that happen. Anna Kelly, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.